This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Are you there?
Hello, Jersey. Yes, I am here. I'm just in the background typing Carmen and stuff, seeing if they're still coming.
Oh, I was like, I couldn't tell whether I was like maybe your space had crashed, but it was like you're still up.
No, 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 no. I'm here. So, well, there's Marlin. Let me give him a speaker or a microphone here. All right, everybody,
Hello?
go ahead, Jersey.
Nothing. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna let everybody know that we're gonna let a few more people pop on here, everybody, and then we'll get started here shortly. So I will go ahead and if you guys don't mind reposting this space, go down the purple pill, like and share it, and we get some more people in here. We are gonna have a discussion today about the trucking industry and not only how it and of course we can throw some other questions in there if you guys have as well, but how it not only affects our food supply, but also how it really is involved in a lot of the trafficking of the children as well. So we will have Marlin in here, and I'm sure other people will come in here and pop in and give their 2 cents in. So we'll wait for a couple more people. I want to welcome Marlin and Carmen, my co-host. How are you guys?
Doing good, Jeannie. How you doing?
Doing good, good. Just got off a podcast. So, Marlon, I do apologize. When you messaged me earlier, I was doing another show. So, yes, we are on
No worries.
today and everything's
No
good.
worries. Awesome. Awesome.
So real quickly, since we have Marlon and Carmen in here, and people are starting to filter in, I'm going to go ahead and do my PSAs really quickly. Everybody, I do this for purpose of people where they can find me, know a little bit about myself, because I don't do a lot of spaces over here on X. I'm very sporadic with it. But I do a lot of stuff over on Telegram, or I just do recorded podcast within the studio. So my name is Jenny. I am the owner and the host of the Revival of America. The Revival of America is being listened to in over 100 countries. So if you guys come late into this podcast or you want to share it with somebody, they can listen to the replay. You can follow the podcast host on the podcast host or the social medias, my social medias, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook, at Jenny_Dreed right here on X, at JDreed Rumble, at JDreed True Social, at JDreed Instagram, the Revival of America, right? Oh, excuse me. Telegram, excuse me. I'm always doing them on Telegram, so I was gonna say right here on Telegram, but over on Telegram is the Revival of America, and YouTube as well is it's the Revival of America. Also, too, everybody, I do have a website. You guys can check us out. It is a work in progress. Many of you know Carmen is working with me on the backside of the podcast, so we're going to be getting into that website a little bit more, adding some more stuff when it comes to the regarding the children. I have a couple pages over there on there for some of my guests that offer some the alternative healing in that world. Amazing testimonials, amazing things they're doing. So good stuff over there. I do have a merch store over there, everybody, but again, it's a work in progress. So we're going to be working on that, and we're going to be bringing you more things. I want to add a blog to it. So, and then as many of you know, Carmen has been writing a lot of music, amazing music. I'm going to talk to her about getting her a page over there as well. So just a lot of things working in the midst of all of that, but also to everybody about my podcast, what it is about. It's not the typical echo chamber of reporting the news. It's not that at all. It's not about my voice. It's about we, the people's voice, your voice. So when you come onto my podcast, you're going to hear a lot of the guests tell their journey, their story, their pain to purpose, however they got into this movement, and what has led them to the direction that they're moving right now. So you're going to hear that. And then what I do is I integrate you, the audience's voices, in asking questions, being a participant in the podcast, because the audience's voices matter as well. And many of you, as the listeners, want to be heard. So that's one of the reasons, besides the children, I created my podcast 6 years ago, is because I wanted, and so many people come to me, where can I go? How are you so brave? I'm too afraid. I wanted people to be able to have their voices heard. My tagline is stand up, speak out, be heard. Don't be afraid, people. So I've created this podcast for all of you to have a voice. So you won't necessarily hear me doing all the talking. It's pretty much the guests show and my audience's show. I'll be here to navigate through and demolish the drama, the agitators, the trolls that want to come in here. Because I don't, if many of you know me, I don't do drama. I don't do bullshit. I get rid of it real quickly. So you won't come in and disrespect my hosts, co-host, my guest, or any of my audience members. I will remove you quickly, and I do it over on all of my other channels. So just giving you that heads up. If you are one of those trolls, agitators that want to come in and do that, nice try. You'll be gone real quickly. So let's, be respectful of the guests, because again, it is about the guests' story, as well as then in having you guys come on as guests and ask any questions you may have. So with that, everybody, I'm not going to take too much more of my time, because I think a lot of you already kind of know how I run the show and what I'm about. I really want to get with Marlin and kind of just have him tell us a little bit about how he got into the journey. And he's he's very informative, let's just say this, about very many things. And really, I told him I kind of wanted to touch on the trucking industry, because with all the stuff coming out about Epstein and everything that we know about this, it all kind of ties together. So with that, go ahead, Carmen, your hands. You don't have to raise your hand, girl, go for it.
I want to play just a little bit of your song for everyone, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes.
Hmm.
And everybody, Carmen is a great songwriter. And if you haven't heard the song that she created for my podcast, it's going to be my theme song. I just actually messaged her to see if she could give me a little shorter for my intro. But it's an amazing song, and I give her all the credit in the world. So, yes, take it away, my
All
friend.
right, I'm gonna do your little intro song. I got it. I got it for you.
In God, we trust. Now it's time to stand up, speak out, and be heard. In a world that's tired and broken, where the truth gets pushed aside, where the voice is in the darkness, where the fire we will not hide. From the pews to the streets we're rising, with our hands and hearts held high. This is more than just a moment. This is freedom's battle cry. No more silence, no more fear. We were born for time like here. This is the revival. Hear the people call. Faith and freedom standing tall. In God we trust. We will not fall. We rise together, one and all. Stand up, speak out, be heard. Let truth shake up this world. This is the revival, and we won't back down. No, we won't back down.
There you go. Just the intro. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. Thanks, girly. So welcome, Marlon. How are you, my friends?
I'm doing good. Yo, Carmen, that makes me want to pick up the flag and run down the middle of the street.
Doesn't it? It gets you going, right? Gets you pumped.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, she
And
just.
hey, our journey, right? Because it's been a journey, Jenny, right? And I met Carmen probably 3.5 years ago, and when I came onto this platform, I was more worried about the whales in my environment, what the East Coast Wind package was doing to my environment, right? I've been closely connected my entire life to that ocean and the bay, and I understand what's going on there. And to see the detriment there, it led me to X. It was something that Elon had just bought X, and it was a good notion to go and start something there. So people see me today, and Marlon, you got a strong voice. Well, let me tell you, it's only been from people that supported us the whole way through, and Carmen was one of them. And Carmen has been a big proponent in a lot of the things that are going on, and been there through thick and thin, and she showed her true colors many, many times. So if it wasn't for Carmen, we probably wouldn't be standing here. So Carmen, do you want to say anything before I go on?
You know what, Jenny, Marlon has a hard time. It's, some of us like, oh, you don't have to say thank you. Like get the attention, and I love that about him because he's
Yeah.
very humble. Very humble, like he's so humble, and he really is. And when I met Marlon, I think it was almost 4 years ago, which is crazy. Um, it was in a different, day and time. Trust us. So when American Next Live came about, Marlon, he called and he says, "I think I got a name," and it said American Next Live. And we just grew from there, right? We just went at it. Marlon's always been very consistent with his spaces, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. And with consistency, you grow a community. And so, and people know you're going to be there. And so that's, he's always been there Monday through Friday. We used to do Tuesday and Thursday nights the trucking spaces, and they were not very full. It was very small spaces because it's really not a great subject. People don't really jump into it, but he stayed consistent. And what you're going to hear from Marlon is consistency, and that's why we're still here, and he's still, we're still got American X Live. We work with the truckers. We're doing everything that we're doing because he's got consistency, and he shows up when he says he's going to. That really matters.
Well, and that's what I always say. I say it to my staff employees. I say it to people in general. Consistency is key. The more I'll use Derek Johnson as an example. Or 107. People give them a hard time because of how they do their messaging. But their messaging is great. It's like birth to the middle, like how this is how we started, how we got here to the end, right? And it's consistent, and the more consistent it is, the more it finally sinks into people and they get it. So consistency is key, everybody, and I appreciate that you stay consistent with your messaging, because with my audience, what I tell them, because so many people reach out to me messages, because they're so confused about what's going on. And I understand the confusion and how people just don't know where to go, who to trust anymore, because they're seeing people that they thought they trusted falling to the wayside or going to the other side, saying different things, being a black pillar, a doom and gloomer, whatever. So that's why I say you got to watch people's messaging. If they're staying consistent, their guests, what they're saying, if they're consistent. You don't want the flip floppers going to the next best thing. You don't want the me, I, the ego driven ones, right? You got to really pay attention to those kind of things, everybody, especially as we are coming to a full blown. We are here, everybody. We are in that storm that Trump talks about, right? So it's gonna get more challenging, but you got to kick that discernment in gear. And I always tell my audience, it used to be 3 to 5 people. If they haven't led you wrong through your journey here, stick with them. But now it's 1 to 3, because even myself and many of my audience members are starting to see people that they were following there for a long time. Now they're going the other way. So please, everybody, be careful who you listen to, who you follow, and what you're putting into your mind, because I'm telling you, it's a psychological war, and it can be a mind twister. So watch for that consistency. Consistency is key. And Marlon, I want to say thank you for that. And yes, I agree. Carmen has been a source and a voice to be reckoned with here. And she is here for everybody. She helps everybody, and she does it, very easily, and no complaints. And it's just out of the kindness of her heart, and the humility that you guys both show. I absolutely love it and appreciate it. And that's why, I felt, honored when I asked Carmen if she wanted to be a part of helping in the back end of the podcast, and she accepted. So she is now helping me out with the podcast as well. So very glad to have you on here too, and helping Marlon, because you guys, yes, you guys definitely work great together for sure.
Well, there's a lot more to come, right? So thanks for the warm words, because hey, how is it how's the evolution of what we've been doing on these spaces kind of brought me to this spot right here, Jenny, right? So we went through, back in my background, I worked with a Traxel company. I had some logistics behind me, but then to understand of all the problems in our trucking industry, in our tentacles of our infrastructure, right? You hear this word infrastructure all the time. But unfortunately now we realize that there is so much dark entity that is in this trucking and our logistics. You know who's paying for it? The average customer. The average American is actually paying for this. So the amount of criminality that's going on in our trucking industry, it's coming in full display. You see the companies that are out there hiring the non-domicile CDL holders. These big conglomerates are using this slave labor because that's exactly what it is. So basically, we went through boot camp, and I said I didn't just go through boot camp. Me and Carmen went through boot camp and actually understood on how this thing works, and realize on every space I hear this corporate entity. Well, if you realize that these corporate entities have their fingers ingested into our logistics systems, you're a fool if you don't think so. BlackRock, Vanguard, they all own hedge funds that own trucking companies and logistic companies. The problem, the main problem is the 1980 Carrier Act that was instituted by Jimmy Carter. This is where the problem begins. It begins because that Carrier Act hasn't been amended for the monetization of data. And data is the way that they have these guys captured. They know where they were, they know where they are, and they know where they're going. If you had all that information, you could degrade the pay for that truck driver into the dirt, because that's what they're doing. If you understood that you had 700 trucks in Denver, Colorado, and you knew you had a couple of trucks in there had to go back to Memphis, Tennessee, you could offer them a dead low rate to be able to get that truck back to Tennessee, right? Either that or he's going to have to deadhead back, right? So if you're using this technology, they automatically know that you'll take that load for $1.30 instead of the ATRI stating that every truck that is running, it takes $2.30 just to break even. So how could these illegal brokers go in and offer these guys half the number just to get them back home? It's even to the point where these guys are averaging the loads, right? You may get paid pretty good on the front end, but you're getting paid dirt on the way back. And if you knew that, the criminality that goes on inside of our logistics systems, the other problem is the foreign entities that have their grips in here that own these trucking lines. I'm talking companies from Kazakhstan, Pakistan, India, Russia. They are integrated into our logistics. Now, you see Trump putting these pillars back in, Jenny, right? He wants this English proficiency to happen in the trucking world, and we all know that we need it. The reason that percentage, 30% of those truck drivers on the road cannot speak English. And you know how I know this, Jenny? Because when the Carrier Act was coming up and we wanted to alert people to the NPR that was on the FMCSA website, we wanted to alert people. I stood out in front of Paulsboro, New Jersey's truck stop and interviewed those guys when they went by me. Do you know 30% of them could not speak a lick of English? Now, they're out there reading our roads. They're driving next to you and your family. You know, this is a danger. These guys that have gone through these CDL mills that Sean Duffy has been referencing this whole time. So basically, what I am proposing, and maybe some of the conservatives in this audience may not be happy with what I'm about to say. With this legislation that I want to propose, it will actually, it's more of a Consumer Protection Act, and it calls for the continuity of government. It calls for the FTC to get involved, the banking industry to get involved. I'm talking about the DOJ and the SBA. All these organizations should be working in unison, and that's what we're expecting. So the legislation that I'm proposing, not only to Republicans, but I'm also introducing it to Andy Kim right here in my own state. He was the guy that replaced Menendez, the guy that got caught with the gold bars. Yeah. This guy, Andy Kim, is my senator. So I am going to take this legislation to him, and I want to force them to be able to implement something. Because I've already been told that Congress has an appetite for this type of legislation. Now, for your audience, what you guys can do is that, you know, we're going to need support in the future. And what I mean by support is these people that are in different districts inside of these states, we can actually have a congressional member meeting with me sitting in Washington and you on a Zoom call. If you really wanted to help a grassroots movement fix the logistics in this country. I think this is another opportunity for us to fix the labor gap, Jenny. I believe that, I know the SBA has been listening. Bruce Lundgren and Kelly Loeffler, they are absolutely out there advocating for lending institutions to give these younger kids, trucks to get into and start their careers. Talking to the insurance bodies out there to lower the price and craft these insurance policies for these kids that have a lesser education. So I see the Trump administration. I see what they're doing. I'm not the yes man and agrees with every move, but I see the Trump administration making stringent proficiency here. Now, I think as a citizen body, especially out of these spaces, I believe that this enforcement should be across America, not just in Tennessee or Arkansas or Oklahoma. I think it needs to happen in New Jersey and New York and California, and the citizenry should be demanding for it. So when we get this legislation crafted, Jenny, I would love to come back and really have your audience be able to, hey, call their congressmen and senators and say, hey, support the Freight 2026 Fraud and Integrity Act, because that's what we're going to be doing. So, and we're going to look back to you, Jenny, and ask your audience to help us. That's what we're going to need. So I hope I didn't go too far there, but that's how strongly I feel about it. I'm an advocate for labor, and I understand the insurance mechanisms, and I understand the black entities that are behind it. I think we need to call Congress and the Senate members out and start using our power on these X spaces, our publications coming out, your podcast, to alert the suburban women. They're the ones that are going to feel it, because as soon as you see this happen, the grocery prices will start falling and getting that illegal entity that's been grabbing on those loads and inflating the prices of all of our goods. So I hope I didn't go too far, Jenny.
No, not at all. No. This is your show. You have the floor, and I think it's important for people to understand, the trucking industry and how valuable it really is to our livelihoods, right? Not only with this food supply, but you touch on the dark entities and the different foreign individuals or companies that are in the hands of in our trucking industry, right? Our logistics. So maybe you could kind of go, kind of explain a little bit more with the foreign individuals coming into our logistics, and how not only does it affect our food industry and just products in general, right? But also too, what we're seeing a lot too with these Epstein files coming out with the children. And it's very dark, it's twisted, and I don't think people really understand how the trucking industry affects our world, not just with the products that we have on our table every day or that we go out and buy to be able to have clothing on our backs, but with humans as well. Go ahead, Carmen.
I just wanted to say, to support what Marlin's saying, that, remember, I think everyone will remember when the longshoremen went on their little strike or whatever they want to call it. And a lot of people thought, they're saying, really, you heard him come out and he said that, that it was about pay. And it was all of these things included, but it was also about workers demanding that the illegal get out, right? Like, and the behind the scenes, they're not going to tell you but so much, but like demanding that the illegals get out, hearing things in shipping containers, and wanting to know, what are they hearing, right? And we know we can get into a little deeper and go into that part of it, but I'll wait till Marlin gets there. But like, these are important topics. The trucking industry is not just the trucking industry. It is the eyes, it is the ears, and it's the heart of your highways and in your interstates. And they see and they feel and they hear everything, and they want to help. These truckers put in a lot of hours. They sacrifice a lot of time away from their families, friends, and so and they work when no one else is. It's I mean, no matter what, they are on the roads, and it's because of the people need medications. We need supplies. We need toilet paper. We need bathing stuff. Everything that we need, they bring us on a truck. So just wanted to throw that out there about the longshoremen as well. Sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, I remember that very vividly. Yes, I do. Go ahead, Marlon.
So I went up and met those local longshoremen. We all saw their boss go up and kind of give his mobbish view to it. I mean, that's basically what he did. But that shut the logistic lines down. That people were inconvenienced as far as materials going out, manufacturers, the dent that it could put in our logistic lines. Now, look, I know Texas Red is in here, and I do want to say hello to Jersey. I haven't seen Jersey in a while, so hello, Jersey.
Hi, darling.
At the end of the day, Carmen and Jenny, you said something about child trafficking. When I kind of thought of what we should be doing, how the process on bringing this legislation forward, I had those kids in mind. Look, I know for a fact that the DOD 6 months ago came across while the Biden administration was just wrapping up and said that they can only check 10% of those trucks that are coming across that border. Now, if you saw the Sound of Freedom, you all know that they were moving these kids around the high seas in these container boxes. So, if anything, maybe this legislation will take some of that dark entity out of it and take a bite out of child trafficking and drug trafficking right here that we're all dealing with every day. So, there was, and Carmen, I'm glad you brought it up because that was an intricate part on why I thought so strongly to be able to introduce this legislation. So,
And Mark,
yeah.
And wasn't there a point where they stopped because when they come in, these containers are inspected, right? Didn't they stop doing that? They wouldn't do it. They would just kind of let them come through.
The DOD came out and said, hey, we're only going to be able to check 10% of those trucks, whether or not they were x-rayed, every one of them coming across or not. Doing the inspections, they were making false walls in front of these containers, all kinds of things they were doing to get these kids across the border. Whether it was in America or it was in India or Russia, whatever, we realize that it is an international entanglement at the end of the day, Jenny. So yes, you're right. I just don't want everybody to believe. You can't have 25 million coming across that border and all the next day there's no traffic going across that border. I can tell you right now, from knowing the Spanish guys, there are ways to get across that border through tunnels and everything else the cartel has in every one of those states, every one of those counties. Do not fool yourself, because that shit's happening. So, hey, if we can grab a hold and make even the Democrats sign on to this, Jenny, then we're making moves.
Amen. And you know what, Marlon, I forgot to ask you, how much time do you have? Because I know you're kind of you work during the day.
I do. It's quite the circus behind the deal, but you know what? I feel like it's my civic duty to be able to come up here and do it. And you know what? Again, everybody may not love Marlin, but usually the message is 100% clean, and we're working for America. And I just can't stand on anything else.
Oh, well, we appreciate you, and trust me, I think more people love Marlin than not. So, so time wise, you good? Hour and a half? What do you? I've got another.
You got about another 45 minutes or so.
You got it. Okay, cool. All right. So we know Texas Red, Texas Red, you are a truck driver as well, right? Or correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I am. I'm out here on the road right now as we speak. So, yeah, I'm a truck driver.
Why don't you give us a little bit of your world, because I know Marlin, all of you guys talk real closely together, within this world here with you guys. Tell the audience a little bit about some of the things that you're out there seeing and notice. Because again, like I said, If you don't know, you don't know. And I guarantee you, a lot of people don't know what you guys know out there. Like Carmen said, you guys are the heart of our interstates.
Well, let's just say I've seen it from the trafficking. I've been involved in looking for some of these trucks. When I'm in Texas, I'll get a phone call. Hey, look for this. You see it, give this number a call. I've been involved with that side of it, and that's usually the human trafficking. I've been involved with 3 of these accidents from the non-domicile CDL holders. Not personally involved. One, I was up close and personal where I did see the explosion of the vehicles and seen the aftermath. I've seen it from the non-domicile CDLs to the human trafficking issues to the slow, not slow. It's been very rapidly, but since Joe Biden took over as president, our industry, we lost over 500,000 trucking companies, American-owned trucking companies, and this has been 10 trucks or less. The American independent owner operator hauls at least 78% of the freight around America. Now, what they've been doing to replace this is it's a coalition between the CCP and the cartels. These illegals that have been coming across the border, they get hooked up with these cartel companies. These cartel companies run shell companies, and they have multiple authorities. If you don't know what an authority is, that is the trucking company's license to be able to operate on the highway system. Once one of these companies gets shut down, they will transfer their entire fleet to another authority under a whole new trucking company's name and a whole new DOT. This is why you've seen videos out there with these people taping up signs on the side of their trucks with a different authority, different DOT numbers and stuff. We see too much. That's the problem. I ain't gonna lie. So a lot of people don't say nothing, but there's few, and there's some of us that are stepping up and finally coming out and saying, when I was down, I am from San Antonio, Texas. I had a local job where I worked from San Antonio, and I worked on McAllen, I worked Laredo, I worked Eagle Pass, everything that was in the news media at that time. I was down there watching this in real time. Me and some other friends were talking about, what the hell are all these buses doing out here? Why do these buses? And they would pull into truck stops. This is where they pull in, they get out, they go into the truck stop. We would see all these illegals coming in our country, not being able to speak English. Most of them, young men, in their 20s to their mid-30s. This is what was actually coming across the border. So then we would come out and start talking about it. And then Greg Abbott, we're shipping these illegals out of our state. That wasn't what was happening. We figured it out later. But like I say, we see everything. I pick up in the ports, and not just Texas. I pick up in ports in Florida. And what Marlin's saying about these shipping containers is very real. But they don't just use shipping containers. They also use tankers. They hollow out the bottom. And some of these trucks, in the fake tops where we got our condo cabs, they'll import illegals. They can shove about 5 of them in up above your cab. They make false bottom in tankers. They make false bottom in cattle trucks. They make... You've all heard the story of all the illegals dying in San Antonio in the reefer trailer. There is nothing they won't do to keep their money coming in. That's what they value, money over human life. And do I think it's all the illegals' fault? Absolutely not. It's everybody who's behind the scenes facilitating this. And a lot of it stems from the money of the CCP. And it comes down through the cartel. Who runs the fentanyl for the CCP? It's the cartel. And this is what we're fighting in Texas. Texas has a very, very bad problem with the cartels. And me and Marlin do talk. I love this man dearly. He is a huge advocate on a place where I cannot be. I'm in Texas. He's in fighting the good fight over there on the East Coast for us. So with that, I see Marlin put his hand up. I'm going to let him go.
Well, real quickly, you were talking about different places that they put these illegals. One I recently saw was in hay bins. Like, they're getting so creative of where they're hiding these illegals. I saw that and I was like, what the hell? Like, it was crazy. Go ahead, Marlon.
So I think another aspect that we have to look at, Jenny, your audience will remember the captain in West Palm. He got caught bringing the Haitians over from Haiti, right? Don't you think he should be prosecuted as a treasonist at the end of the day? And I want to give you another example.
Absolutely.
There's a law firm in Washington, and it's called the Mendoza Law Firm. Okay, and they're Spanish owned. What they do is they promise these guys, no matter where they come from, they promise them a fast track to not only state status, but also the easy way. You hear that the CDL mills, they put them through these mills and give them a 6-week crash course education, and they put them out in the road. Now, the conglomerates that are using them, that's the problem. We're talking about the JB Hunts and TQLs and all these truck driving organizations have used and built relationships with exactly that law firm that will feed them the illegal immigrant population to drive those trucks. Those are the detriments. Those are what we're working against. So it's not just the captain bringing it over. It's the companies that are working inside. Oh, that's right. The Mendoza law firm also has a lobbying firm.
Yep.
You wonder.
Sorry, Marlon. I was just going to say, I was going to remind you of the lobbying. You said it.
Yeah, I mean, here's a law firm that knows the ins and outs through the immigration process and guaranteeing these guys state status and fast track. You don't think they're scraping off of these people? They're scraping paychecks off of these people. So it's not just, hey, get them in a truck. They're scraping from them the entire time they're in the U.S. So how about that for lawyers that are operating in Washington? That's what I'd like to expose, Jenny.
And when you look at the local level, Jenny, take it back. So I was watching today, and I was sitting there, and I was watching a video, and this colonel was talking about what he's implementing, how he's just knocking it out. He is knocking the fraud out. I mean, this man is working hard, plans in place, and he is just going step by step and just knocking it out. It's pretty amazing when you sit back and you step back from it and you look at it and you go, wow, I'm living through this. It might be tough right now, but man, if he is not doing that. And so the local level, we always talk about how important the local level is. It's also important to know the local level is where all this fraud and the trafficking of children is starting, right? Like, it's starting there. And so we have to get involved at our local level, not only to get midterms and to win the midterms, but to also drain the swamp in your local community, because you have one there. Trust me. Just like in the States, we have one. And in Washington, we have one. But Trump can do that. But if we don't do our part and do, with the children and the fraudulent, not paying the truckers, taking money from them, we're not going to make anything great. We're just going to be right where we started. We have to combat it at the local level. It's very important.
100%, I agree. And we speak a lot about in our spaces, whether it be Carmen's space, Marlon's space, or spaces that Carmen and I are in, about getting local. Local action means national recognition, right? So go ahead, Texas, your hand's up.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Carmen, because locally in your state, this is what you can do. Find out, because 43 states in America are complicit with the non-domicile CDL, including the state of Texas and our very own
and North Carolina.
Beloved Greg Abbott. So look in your state. See if your state is one of these states that is complicit with the non-domicile CDL. Start talking to your lawmakers. Start, emailing them. Start the phone calls, because this is a real problem. Being as I am a truck driver, I have friends who work in the also truck towing industries. 90% of all their calls are on a non-domicile CDL holder. This is a real fact. They are not just
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
taking over our industry. They are also a dangerous, detrimental instrument out here on these roads. Like I said, I've seen 2 of these fatalities, and it's heartbreaking. It really is.
Well, I
There was
seen
a
one in
battle.
my hometown, Texas. There
Yes,
was
ma'am.
one right at the stoplight. I mean, it was imagine I call it 18-wheeler. I'm Southern, I'm country, that's what I call them. But imagine an 18-wheeler sitting right there at you when you come up, and I mean this car is so small compared to it, and it's a non-domicile driver, and you're like, man, the problem is right here. Like where do we think they're getting their driver's license? They're in Kentucky, right? We heard in Kentucky that the Department DOT, the DMV got busted there for giving out non-domicile CDLs to illegals. In North Carolina, non-domicile CDLs to illegals. You know what I mean? So in Texas, I mean, it's everywhere, Jenny. It's everywhere, and they'll even tell you on some of these videos. They're coming out and they're showing you how they're doing it, and they're doing it illegally. I seen one today. A gentleman went and got one illegally, a fake ID, a fake CDL, and he can go and hit the truck wide open. So you got to watch this. Kill you.
Thank you, Carmen. Go ahead, Marlon.
So, unfortunately, your DOT inside of your state doesn't have as much power as we would think, right? Because most of the regulations that come out are federal regulations that the local DOTs actually follow, right? So they don't have a whole lot to say about this illegal action going on in their state. But where we can make a difference, and this is exactly what we talked about with Doc a couple of weeks ago, was this legislation would go in there and be able to root these problems out. I'm talking about, you're talking about these companies using the non-domicile CDL holders. Well, if they went through the English proficiency test, well, then 30% of them wouldn't pass. Right, so if we can go in and effectively start prosecuting these particular cases inside your state, there's 2 precedents that has already been set with the #1 illegal broker in the country, TQL. One has been set in Colorado and one has been set in Ohio. Okay, so as soon as our state representatives know that this problem is going on, whether it be in New Jersey or North Carolina or Texas, they should be able to prosecute these people on a state level, and that's not happening right now. You have a lot of these DAs that are not going to follow this because of the influence of money inside of the political PACs. So, we talk about judges, we talk about the DAs, we talk about all these different instruments that are supposed to be there to protect us. Our AG in our state, right, is supposed to protect our rights. Nobody's protecting them from this logistics problem, okay? So as soon as our states can get rallied enough to start pushing back and start bringing lawsuits against these criminalities, nothing's going to change. So I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. We do have state precedents to do it.
Even if it does change, do you think we're going to be able to change it fast enough through the correct means? Because in my experience, talking to everybody, it always seems like year after year, you fix one problem, you get 10 more.
So hang on a second. White America, is it White America? Is that what it was? Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
so your question is directed. Is that for Marlon?
Yes.
Go ahead, Marlon.
So basically, I didn't really totally understand what you mean as far as one problem being extinguished. You're talking about 10 new problems jumping up. Well, let me tell you that there's 50 problems inside the logistics, right? We're only talking about one of them. But the legislation that I propose would take care of every one of them, modernizing the 1980 Carrier Act. You know, I'd love to have my name on there, and I think this legislation is the way to do it. So in my eyes, I believe that, you know, not only the Trump administration is pushing this, but also Sean Duffy and the Department of Transportation. I believe that they are snuffing these problems out one by one. So we'll see what pops up after, but there's 50 ways to sift off the logistics.
Okay, then I guess a better question would be, after we fix it, how do we ensure that it doesn't get undone by the next administration if, say, we don't get the Reds in and we get the Blues or whatever they are?
So that's a great point. You know, all this work we're doing here, right? In my eyes, you know, unfortunately, if we lose the midterms as conservatives, we only have 10 months of President Trump being actually effective in getting things through the House and the Senate. You know, if the Republicans lose the midterms, you know, don't fall into the propaganda. Don't think that way, because that's not the truth. So let's get by the hysteria with the midterms coming up here. But you're right. How are we going to protect it? And I think this legislation does that. This has a piece in there that there would be an SRO, a self-regulatory body that would come in and check these political figures no matter what administration is in there. So that's in the legislation. So unfortunately, you know, we've failed before, but we definitely learn from our failures.
And we also go to the other party, right? So when we're presenting this legislation,
You cut out. Where'd you go?
Hello.
Carmen,
They
where'd you
got
go?
her, guys. They got her. Man down. I mean, woman down.
Go ahead, Texas Red.
Yeah, go ahead, Texas.
Well, I was gonna say, because the legislation for Marlin, you know, and this is where we, the people, take our power back, and this is where we, the people, become the oversight committees. This is something we're actually working in also in Texas with some of our new candidates. Why do we let the system continuously protect the system when it's our job to oversee them? This is where we need to start really getting active and do our part. It's time for us to step up. This is our job. This is we the people's job. And this is where we got to take this country. We start overseeing our employees. And don't forget, these people are our employees. They work for us. We pay their wages. We give them all the authority and power to do what they're doing. But yet they continuously treat us like we are their servants. And this is where America messed up, including myself. I did it. I mean, I'm not perfect. Hey, let them take care of it. They're doing it. And by us not keeping an eye on them, they ran rampant with the checkbook. And they don't care about us. They care about how much money they can make. And this is the problem we need to get out of our system. And with citizen oversight committees, I mean, actual real people like Marlin, like Carmen, Jenny, Julie, anybody down there, we can keep an eye on our government. And this is what we are talking about trying in Texas. Because look what we just went through in Texas. We have a Republican House. What did they do? They created Democratic oversight committees. Where's the logic in this? We're the ones that we're supposed to be the keepers of this. So, and that's where I think we need to go. And this is part of what I believe Marlin's bill will cover. Not just in per state, but it will become federal. And that's what we need. Thank you, guys.
Jenny, can I add on to that?
Of course.
And the reason I want to add on to it is just because, hey, we're introducing this legislation as far as the trucking and the logistics end. Do you know how many other businesses throughout that you deal with every day have this brokerage system in front of it? your medical system has so many brokers that really there's not a whole lot of regulatory bodies actually watching what they're doing. So I would say that this isn't just a logistic thing. I would say that this action of brokerages, people skimming money, illegal entities in there in that logistic line, no matter whether it's in a truck or a pharmacy. I would think that this would be more of a precedence to the continuity of government, forcing these agencies into working together. That is the real key.
Thank you, Marlon. And Carmen, did you want to say something? I know you got zapped when you were speaking, so go ahead.
They wanted to just go ahead and let me go. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I kind of felt like I was flying out to space there for a moment. I just kind of went back. You know, they just want to shut you down. I really can't remember what I was going to say, but I think I was going to say something to the point of that the legislation, and this, I was trying to get to the small business and where it fits. It kind of fits everywhere there. You know, and so that's what I see. I see us combating not just one problem, but the logistics and is huge in this trucking industry. To grab that and to get a hold of that and get some sense to it, it would be huge to accomplish. And then to think about it, you can take that legislation and apply it to these small businesses is even bigger. So that's what I say.
You know, Jenny, at the end of the day, Texas talked about something that I didn't really elaborate on. Let me get one more point out here. You know, in 2023, there was 132,000 trucking companies that went under. People that were in business for 20, 30 years, and they realized with that particular climate, they can't make any money. They're up against this corporate that is flooding the market with slave labor. It's impossible to be able to keep a small business in pace. 132,000 different trucking companies. Think about what that is. I'm not talking about just a single guy. We're talking about dispatchers. We're talking about mechanics. We're talking about secretaries. We're talking about the trickle-down economics, even to the point where the gas and the fuel stops are. They're going to lose business. And all that did was that took that 132,000 worth of business and shoved it to these corporate entities that are using the CDL, non-domicile CDL drivers. So all it did was drive more traffic to that conglomerate. And that's what we got to change. 130, it's a million plus in American job loss. That's what Congress needs to hear, Jen.
Wow, that's a big number. 1 million plus people. That's huge. And when did you say that? What year was that, did you say?
That was in 2023.
Holy shit, that's a lot. Excuse my language. Sorry, Marlon. I know you love the cussing.
No. This is your show, dear.
Go ahead, Deborah. Go ahead. Your hand's up, sweetie.
Hey, baby, how are y'all doing?
Good. How are you, mamas?
Hey, Mama
Doing
Deborah.
okay. Hey, baby, I love you. Are you okay? You fell out there
Yeah, I'm
on me.
good. I love you.
um, please work with me. Give me a minute today. My trauma brain is on full action. I've been in meetings. It's kind of been an emotional day. Um, I would like you to kind of reset the space. I think, Carmen, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what you were asking me to help you with to get this in front of David Rouser, whatever y'all are talking about now. So,
Yep.
is this what you were asking me to help you with?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So if someone could kind of walk me through what's going on, because I know many of you in here may not know this, but in my married life, my ex-husband, or my husband at the time, worked for Yellow Freight Trucking. And Marlin, as a trucker, you're probably familiar with them. But I was also a broker and a logistics operator, probably, uh, what year is this? I'm not even sure when. It was before
2026,
COVID.
honey.
It was before COVID, and I had a broker business. And so also my brother worked for UPS, and when the Marlin will understand what I'm talking about, when the laws changed and they had to go to the digital thing on the phone and the times had to be logged, and all my brother working for UPS went on every truck they had all across the country, training their drivers on the new legislation and the new laws. And so I'm somewhat familiar, even though this is not my fight that I'm pursuing, but I'm always willing to help since I do have contacts that can do something. So if somebody, Jenny, I apologize if I'm taking too much time, but I'm trying to find the words to articulate what I'm asking you. If somebody could break this down for me and help me understand what you need done so that I can get this in the right hands to help you facilitate what needs to happen.
Yeah, Marlon, you wanna break it down quick for her?
Sure, sure. So Rasner, he has a bill up there, 5866, and this takes care of this non-domicile CD holders and these companies that are giving out across the country. So he does have this bill out there. There's 38 signers on that bill. Now, what I'm talking about congressional signers that are on the bill. I would like to be able to support this, to be able to get him to help us with our legislation, Deborah, right? Hey, we need to show support and these congressional members on the bills that they already have active, and then to get them to sign on and really understand what the legislation that we're proposing. That would be a leg up, Deborah, and I hope that answered the question. The legislation that I'm proposing, our community is proposing, it deals with continuity of government, getting the FTC into these transactionals, getting the banking industry, getting the SBA, getting the DOJ, and they all been listening to me in the SBA meetings. So we do have the ear of them. So I think really the point that Carmen really wanted out of you, Deborah, was we need to show the support for Razor, and then when we're ready for our legislation, Razor will have no problem signing on that line.
Okay, Marlon, is there any way that you could send me a copy of the legislation that you have, or Carmen, was that what you were going to get to
Well,
me?
yeah, no. What I wanted to do was before we presented it to him, I tried to get a conversation, like set up a time to talk with him, so we could talk to him about what brought us to him. Right, was his legislation. We seen this, we noticed it, and then we could possibly speak about a little bit about the legislation that would be coming. But before we hand it over, of course, we're gonna hold on to it until we have to hand that over.
Is this actually David's legislation, Carmen?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So David is the one who has come up and supported this, or has
He
he
put the
actually
bill out.
written?
Hmm.
He did.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get me a copy of what you have, Marlon, and I will get in contact with him and see what I can try to set up for y'all and go from there. It might be a little bit because I'm traveling, trying to work on my foundation stuff for addiction and fentanyl awareness and stuff for the next couple of weeks, but I have his number and I can give him a phone call after I get through some business and meetings and stuff in a couple weeks and try to see what I can set up for y'all. Where are you located, Marlon?
I'm in New Jersey.
Okay. Would you want to travel with Carmen to have a sit down face to face, or would you be willing to, would setting up a Zoom meet be better?
Yeah, Zoom would probably work best. I mean, I know, hey, he's going to have some in-session time inside of Washington. At some point, I do want to get down there and reach my own representatives there. So,
Right.
we could even do something when he's in session also in his office, Deborah. So, there's a lot of ways we could slice it up.
Okay, okay, that works. I will try to get up with him in between times and and see what I can work out, and I'll stay in contact with Carmen. But give me a couple weeks, and I'll touch base with Carmen, and she can get up with you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
letting me
Deborah.
know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I just kind of wanted to, reset the room. I was late coming in here, and I wasn't sure exactly what um, the bottom line was here. So, Marlon, also send me over a copy of what you have, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
And see, everybody, this is how we all come together and work together to make these things happen, right? So no matter the noise out there, which I'd say stay out of the noise, this is how we come together and make it all happen. We the people, remember, they work for us. We don't work for them. So I think this is awesome. Thank you, Deborah, for coming up and talking about that to help facilitate this. This is awesome. And I want to say hi to Julie. Hi, Julie. Go ahead, Marlon.
Hey, hello.
Let's go to
Hello.
Julie. Julie, how you doing? Good to see you, Julie.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just trying to get a couple things ready for my husband when he gets home for his birthday. And thank you for having me in here. Interesting conversation. I don't know how much I can add to it other than the fact that, we need to start doing these things because like everybody has been saying, it's not gonna happen otherwise. We have to just get involved. So really good conversation, Jenny. I'm going to go back to listening though. Thank you.
Thanks, girly. Texas Red, I think you had your hand up. Did you have your hand up while Deborah was talking to Marlon?
No, I probably accidentally hit the button. Sorry.
Okay. All right, and I'm going to say, if
So,
you hear,
Jenny.
go ahead, Marlon.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. The audience that has been listening to me regurgitate the trucking stuff, right? My audience is used to it. Now, the better part is we were able to really, connect those lines in the discussions that we were having. I think as soon as people realize that this dark entity that everybody's talking about, my spaces used to empty out, right, Carm? I mean, we started talking about logistics or whatever, and then all of a sudden there was a change, Jenny. There was a change where people were understanding what we were talking about, and they realized the problem inside. And we saw it. We saw it with the support with the NPRN that's on the FMCSA website. I know I keep going back to the FMCSA. The FMCSA is there. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is what the FMCSA stands for. They are there to protect the safety of those trucks, to protect the citizenry in this country. That's why the FMCSA is there. I am proposing to make an FMCSA task force and force them with the continuity of government. I know I keep saying that, but that is really where the bite of the legislation starts. And once you have to force those three-letter agencies, all the work better and a continuity between all of those three-letter agencies, putting these people on stage, that's what we need to do. That's where I think the power of this legislation really shames these other three-letter agencies into having to work together. So as soon as we can do that and we get the information flowing, the DOJ should be investigating every one of these transactions illegally that's happening in logistics. That Cash Patel should be, inquiring about these, setting the evidence up that we're providing, and let this legislation melt through and change the Carrier Act. I would love to have my little signature on the bottom of that revised Carrier Act or an amendment, and it starts with a lot of transparency and bringing these people to call, man. That would be the best, and that's where your audience can help us fight this in Washington, even at a grassroots, even just showing up for a Zoom meeting where it's me, you, and your representative saying, why aren't you supporting this? That's what they count on, right? They remember, on these apps, they worry about two things, Jenny. They worry about the votes and they worry about the money. And if we can affect either one of those, it's a good combination. So let's go.
Let's go. And everybody, you see here, when I say they're going after the people from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. It doesn't matter who you are. Look how entangled this deep web, dark circle of the deep state that we call it is, and all the players that are in it. I mean, it's our trucking companies. It's we're seeing all the fraud in Minnesota. The daycares. Like it's beyond mind blowing. All the corruption. So you have to understand why it had to be this way. People always complain about it. Why is it taking so long? Rip the band-aid off. Why won't Trump just do it? It's not like that, everybody. You got to go to the depths of it all because look, what with these protests, I'll use that as an example with these kids on the walkout that they had last Friday. Just going to show you that they're going to go now. They're exposing the schools. So you guys got to be patient. The depths of this evil, the corruption doesn't just go with. It's not just with our trucking industry. It's everywhere, guys. So be mindful of that when you're out there listening to these people bitching and complaining that nothing's been done, nothing's happening. You run away from those spaces, guys. All right, go ahead, Marlon. Or I mean, Carmen. You
No,
want to raise your hand,
you know,
really?
like when Marlon was talking, he kind of said it. The 1980 Motor Carrier Act. We have transparency. The law is already in place. Here's the problem: they just won't implement it, right? Like they're not, like it's right there. You, you, the Transparency Act's right there, but it won't. They will not enforce that law, and so this is where FMCSA, if they're there for our safety and they want us to be safe, this is where they come into play. They should be enforcing this law to the brokers, to truckers, to everyone involved in the industry, right? And they're not enforcing it, Jenny. And this is where when Marlon says that he always goes back to the FMCSA because they're very important when it comes to the front line, and that's where the task force would come in place with this new legislation, and everything would be transparent across the board because that's what Trump is doing. Imagine, sometimes I imagine being Trump, right? And thinking that he doesn't, we're fighting the trucking industry. We're just talking about the trucking industry right now. And there's webs. When you look at the trucking industry, there's so many webs that come from that one word, just that industry. There's just thousands and thousands of webs. And this man, with his administration, is tackling all of it, right? And I'm going, geez, man. I mean, you want to talk about a boss. That's what he is. And he knows business very well. And that's something we've never had in our nation before, a businessman like Trump up there as the president in our nation. And it's important that we remember this because we see where our nation went with politicians. So we got something different in place and we're getting different results, and they're good results. That's what we're getting back. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And Jenny, can I add just a little
Of
bit
course.
to it? And so, look, everybody sees the battle that we've been in since the beginning. It's really morphed into this message here. If you want to take a bite out of child trafficking, you want to take a bite out of crime, you want to take a bite out of fentanyl, go look around our cities. Our people are walking around like drones. They go drive in Southwest Philly. I don't care if it's 0 degrees. They're on the front corner. If we could take a bite out of that, along with the kids, what? Isn't it our civic duty to do this, Jenny?
Yes, it is. 100%.
Could I add in also? Not only the transparency has been a law, but also English proficiency for a CDL holder. That is an old law. Trump just signed an executive order on an old law. I mean, these laws and regulations, they're on the books, guys. It's just nobody's paying attention to it. And I've got one of these books in my truck right now. And I'm going to tell you, we call it the Trucker's Bible. And this thing is thick, and it has thousands upon thousands of regulations and laws and everything to keep the American people safe on the roads. It's just nobody's enforcing them. Trump had to sign an executive order for the English proficiency test. For real. And that's been a law.
And we don't need to just our truckers, right? We need to look at, when truckers are driving and they're doing their part to stay safe. we have to do our part as drivers to stay safe and understand how to allow a truck over, right? Don't, you kick it, you try to get around them, it's not helping, right? It's just not helping the thing. So, there's a lot to this, and this is just broken down quickly, but I feel that we would see big differences in that part of the industry as well, and being courteous to the truckers a little bit more would also be nice. I see truck cars all the time acting cray cray, Jenny, cray cray.
Amen to that. Real quickly, Marlon, how are you doing on time? I know you said about
I got a couple more minutes. Let's go to Deborah, but I definitely want to put out something about safety and the way that what we're talking about will change that.
Okay, real quickly, I do have a Renee that popped up here. Renee, do you have a question? If you do, real quickly, I'm going to let Marlon address what he wanted to address. But if you could put your hand up, so I know you have a question for Marlon. Go ahead, Marlon.
Okay, go to Deborah, and then we'll splash the safety end and how this is going to change.
Well, real quickly, I want to go to Renee and then Deborah, and then you can close us out. How about that?
Perfect.
All right, go ahead, Renee.
Hi, you guys. Hope you guys are doing well today. I wanted to kind of just jump off of what Carmen was saying about the implementation of laws, because I just want to use this as a quick example. Um, like the child support system and what they do to families and how they rip families apart and what they do to the children. See, they have all these laws, what's in the best interest of the child, and the child needs to have a relationship with its father, the child needs to have a relationship with its mother. They have all these laws, but they use it and they manipulate it to their convenience. How do we, as we the people, fight for our rights as a father to be having a relationship with their child, if they're going to rip him a new one and have him pay thousands and thousands of dollars in child support? And I'm only using that as an example, because again, it has to do with the laws and the laws that are implemented that these people in these higher ups tend to use against us, and it hurts us instead of helping us, instead of doing good for the community. So that's kind of where and then going off again what Carmen was saying about Trump, it's like he's hitting all, it's so much to deal with, going with the deep state and how corrupt everything is. Where do we people begin? I mean, I know it's at a local level, but even our and I'm from California, so you know where I'm at with that. Um, it's just, where do we start? It's just so much that we have to do, and we have to come back from this huge mess, this huge corruption, to even begin to move forward to a positive light. That's just kind of all I wanted to say. But I'm in total agreement with the whole trucking industry. I don't believe that they have enough respect. And one thing my dad always told me, Renee, you know what? Once you see the trucks stop moving, you better watch out. And that's what I'm afraid of. But I'm just really hoping and praying that Trump does what he is doing, and keeps all his promises, which he has up to this point. But again, there's just so many areas that are just so corrupt. I'm going to just kind of leave it right there because I can go on forever.
Thank you,
Renee, just to bounce back at you, right? It's more of an example of the laws are there, but the governing bodies just aren't enforcing the reaction that's supposed to be coming out of that legislation. Remember,
Right.
these documents are reactionary. There are provisions in there, penalties. This is what we see in a lot of different fashions, and especially, hey, I'm not just into trucking, right? We hear a lot of different issues that come up in these statements.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's just another example of a government really not regulating it.
Well,
Right.
Marlon, when you think about a law, listen, when there's not enforcement behind the law, that's just all it is a statement. So a law without enforcement is just a statement. It's not a law. So authority, your jurisdiction, your enforcement power, right? And then you go. Enforcement is usually built into the law itself, right? So, for example, it shall be unlawful to, etc., and any person who violates this section shall be fined or imprisoned, etc., etc. And then sometimes enforcement is handled by existing laws. Okay, so like it gets really tricky when you start going down, and then when enforcement can be A, criminal, B, civil, C, administrative. And then when people say there's no enforcement law, they usually mean one of three things. The enforcement authority was defunded, the executive branch refuses to enforce it, which we're dealing with, and courts have limited or stayed enforcement. So that does not mean the law doesn't exist. It means it's being nullified in practice. That's that. So I want to understand that
Well
part.
said. Well said.
Go ahead,
Perfect,
Deborah.
perfect segue into what I wanted to mention. Marlon said something huge, and Carmen brought it home with a great point. The reality is, and there's no better example of this reality that will have affected everyone that was alive at the time than 9/11, when we had a terrorist attack on our homeland. We then learned that there is no communication between these different agencies. Marlon brought this up. And that is a huge reality. It is a huge issue. And the other reality to that, Marlon, is not only do we have agencies that are not interacting with each other, people within the same agency, whether it be USDA, whether it be our shipping, our trucking, um, uh, courts with child support and families, or drug addiction, no matter what it may be, agencies that are supposed to support these laws and have accountability for them, they're not even communicating within themselves. So you have a person sitting over here on a desk that has no clue what the supervisor is supposed to be even supervising, and a supervisor who doesn't even know their job correctly or performs it correctly because they're not talking to each other. And that is something, I mean, I could go on for days about this one issue in almost every branch of government. But what we have is lazy people now working for our government, and we pay their paycheck. We pay their bills. And we have to help Trump. Thank God Trump, like Carmen said, a businessman that is in there. He sees this, he knows this, and he is trying to change it. But we have Americans out here that still don't have a clue how the government has become so corrupt. We have legislators writing laws, and they're laws that they're not even pertaining to their own behavior, and they think they're above it. And until we demand accountability from each individual agency, like Marlin and Carmen and them are talking about here, then we're not going to get it from the agency. And until we demand those agencies within themselves start communicating and enforcing those laws, then we're not going to get that either. So that's where because I listen in these spaces and we all gripe and complain about what is not getting done. This is a reaction you can do. When you run into these situations, follow them through like Carmen and Marlin are trying to do with this trucking situation and many others. And let's get those people fired. Let's cut down the size of our government so that these agencies can interact between each other and can interact among themselves and get things done. That's an action we as individuals can take, because I'm a solution-focused woman. I like to get things done as much as I enjoy sitting in these spaces and hearing everybody's opinion. The facts and the reality are the facts and the reality. Until we get off our ass and actually follow through and demand accountability, Trump can't do this by himself. So that's where we as individuals can act. Renee, you can jump in and you can go and do what you need to fight for your cause and for the situation you were speaking about, just as Marlon and Carmen are doing for trucking. So we have to make these points and we have to educate our neighbors around us so that they will not be thinking, oh, Trump's out here, he's a dictator, he's doing this, he's doing that. He's doing exactly the opposite. And it's very frustrating for us that get it, see it, are awake, and have been doing this for years, that we can't get people to help us to bring these things to fruition.
Well,
So
Deborah, think about
Thank you,
this.
Deborah.
Think about this,
Thank,
Deborah. At
hey,
oh, I'm
hang on,
sorry,
hang on,
Jenny. I'm
hang on,
sorry.
hang on just a second. Hang on. So real quickly, Marlon, how you doing on time? I know you said you had a couple more minutes. How you
No,
doing?
I want to go through Texas. I got a couple more minutes. Let's just, go your
Okay,
flow.
so
And
go ahead, Carmen, and then Texas, and then Marlon, you can close us out because I got to get ready for my third show. So go
I
ahead.
know. I was about to say something about that. 2 minutes. At the end of the day, this is where the separation of powers matters. The legislator, the executive, and the judiciary. I just want to throw that in there. You have your law. I went through all that, and at the very bottom line is that's where the separation of powers matters, and you have to have those three working together. One writes the law, one enforces the law, one interprets the law. So, I mean, I just wanted to throw that in there. Thanks.
Thanks, Carmen. Go ahead, Texas.
Thank you, Jenny. I want to tell you how easy it would be to clean up this transportation industry really quick. You guys need to get a hold of your state legislatures. You need to get a hold of them because they know when we go under those cool little weight stations, they're not just weighing our trucks. They're scanning everything. We have computers in this. They know who we are out here. They know us by name. They know even how much our trucks weigh because everything's done digitally now. They know everything about every truck that rolls across those scales. This problem can be eliminated if we could just get the teeth and the people to stand up and voice this concern with their state agencies because they know we're out here. A lot of people don't know this, but we rolled up through them scales. They know everything about this truck, including the hours, including which locations we've been in, our freight, everything. They know everything about these trucks. So get involved with your local legislatures, get the laws out there, and help us, please. Because who knows where this is going, but I see light at the end of the tunnel. People are starting to recognize this, and people are using these systems. The good ones are. This can be used for both sides, and I have seen it being used for both sides. Pulling in trucks only with illegally American authorized trucks while they're letting the illegals. That was literally happening in one state with these checkpoints. In another state, they've got tons of tow trucks sitting at the weight station pulling these illegals off the road. It is so easily done. Seriously, people, you just need to get out there, talk to your people. Thank you.
Thank you, Texas. All right, Marlon, close us out, my friend.
so, Deborah, I think it's not whether they want to, they must, right? That's what we have to lean on them, and we need the participation. And it can be even to the point where you could bring your issue, right? If you had an issue inside of your state and you wanted to talk to your congressional member, I would absolutely show up for that meeting in their office in Washington, right? This is definitely what we're going to be doing. Look, I have my application in for a press pass. A little shameless plug. Hey, we have a publication coming up, The Average View. So we're going to be getting these stories out, and they're going to be emailed to every one of those representatives and Senate representatives and DOT members. They're going to know what's coming, right? And then we're going to need communities just like yours, Jenny, to be able to support us in calling the congressional members. And as soon as they realize that their constituents are calling them, they shape up and, man, they hop too. All right, so it's just a matter of getting these people to help us in Washington and you can take it from Washington and apply it to your local. That's what you do if you have some precedents, and even actually the best way is to have the state precedents and take it to the federal, and then they can't deny it. So there's a lot of notions that we forgot about. Really quickly, the FMCSA, and the reason that we're even talking today, Jenny, is because remember, these trucks aren't just trucks; they're micro businesses in this country. Okay, so when these guys go and they're out there running the roads and they're getting the rates are smashed into the ground and they can't make any money, their business isn't making any money. Well, guess what? They're going to be the very first ones to skimp on the steer tire. And that's when they blow out and they go down the road and they smash in their windshield. That's because these guys can't afford, because the margins are so tight. And remember, this is all done on no problems. If they have a problem, they're not getting paid for it. They're sitting on the sideline. So again, hey, our truckers, our micro businesses, the SBA is putting this message out. I think you should be supporting the SBA. They're about the only ones that have been listening, and they've been listening to exactly what we've been talking about, because I see it. That cabotage, we were talking about cabotage in the last SBA meeting, and all of a sudden, holy shit, Trump puts out about cabotage. Oh my God. So maybe they're a little, the voices. I want you to remember one thing, Jenny. You just showing up liberates other people. So thanks for having me up today.
Thank you, Marlin. Thank you for being here. And Carmen, thank you for being here. Texas, Deborah, everybody here for contributing. Because remember, everybody, it's your voices that matter. This is what's going to move the needle. It's going to move us into the next realm of this new world that we're coming into. So again, a lot of people out there talking local action. Get local, everybody. You can always reach out to myself, Carmen, Marlin. We are here to help in whatever way we can. And Marlon, I'd love to get you back on. Carmen, I don't know if you want to say any last words before we close out.
No, thank you. Thanks for having Marlon on in Texas and the trucking industry. Deborah, thanks. God bless you all. God bless the USA and President Trump. Pray for him.
Amen. Yes, pray for our president, guys. And come on over to my Telegram page, everybody, 5:30 Central Standard Time. We are going to have Captain Kyle on. So if you want to hear some more truths, everybody, head on over to Telegram, 5:30 Central Standard Time, and we will be having a live, another one of these, but over on Telegram. So thank you guys for being here. God bless you all. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Carmen. Thanks, Marlon. Thanks, Texas. Thanks, Julie. And thanks, Deborah. And I want to say hi to Turtle. Hello, Turtle.
Hey, Turtle.
God bless everybody.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.